The strategy of reactive defense has been the foundation of NATO's response to threats for decades. The organization's core principles focus on standing ready to respond only after an attack occurs. Article 5 of the NATO Charter clearly states that an attack against one member is an attack against all, prompting immediate support. Article 6 emphasizes that NATO will act only in self-defense, not initiate conflict. Analytical experts often analyze NATO's reaction times and preparedness levels, emphasizing how swiftly they can respond to external threats. Just last year, a respected publication highlighted the NATO Response Force, the High Readiness Joint Task Force designed to mobilize quickly. Yet, despite these measures, critics argue this reactive stance might be holding NATO back from effectively deterring escalation. The message is clear: NATO responds after being attacked, never before. It's a mindset rooted in defending, not attacking. However, recent developments suggest this approach could be outdated. A high-ranking military advisor recently stated that NATO must reconsider its strategies. The question is, what is driving this shift? The answer might be found in the current climate of tension between Russia and Ukraine, with indirect pressures from the United States and European leaders. In a pivotal week, leaders are eyeing peace negotiations between Moscow and Kiev. The European Commission's vice president has warned that these talks could reshape Europe's future. She emphasizes that this is a critical moment, not only for Ukraine but for the entire continent. The US is preparing to hold talks with Moscow, raising questions about Russia's true intentions. Are negotiations in play, or are they merely a distraction from the ongoing hybrid warfare? As the diplomatic atmosphere heats up, fears grow that Russia's hybrid tactics have been more aggressive than many realize. Signs point to increased aerial incursions, cyber assaults, and sabotage operations, an unseen war threatening to destabilize the entire NATO alliance. The question is, how long can NATO sit on the sidelines before decisive action becomes unavoidable? The stakes couldn't be higher. The world is watching. Will NATO finally shift from reaction to preemption? Recent diplomatic tensions are reaching a boiling point. The upcoming talks between the United States and Russia could reshape the entire future of Ukraine and Europe itself. Many fear this could be the week that the delicate balance shifts forever. Will Russia push back harder than ever, or will diplomacy finally break through the silence? Kallas, a leading European diplomat, warns that these negotiations may put unbearable pressure on Ukraine. They risk forcing Kiev into a corner, demanding a deal that nobody truly wants. Just over a week ago, the US released a draft peace plan. It surprised many by seeming remarkably sympathetic to Russia. The 28-point proposal was quickly dissected by European nations and Ukraine. Now, it might form the foundation for upcoming discussions. Imagine the tense atmosphere: diplomats' voices echo in cold conference rooms, fingers trembling as they scrutinize every word. The plan's details are scrutinized obsessively, like the ticking of a clock counting down to catastrophe. Could this draft be a betrayal? Or a new hope? The stakes are enormous. The atmosphere thickens with uncertainty, as the world waits on the edge of a decision that could plunge Europe into chaos. Questions swirl: how serious is Russia about pursuing peace in Ukraine? On December 1st, reports emerged that Putin would meet with key U.S. officials, including Trump's former envoy, Steve Witkoff, on December 2nd. Jared Kushner, Donald Trump's son-in-law, is expected to join these discussions. They'll review a new peace framework drafted by the U.S. and partners, aiming to reshape the conflict. But can Ukraine accept such a plan? If Kiev agrees, will Putin accept it? History suggests doubt. Just a month ago, Russia insisted there was no need to negotiate. Dmitry Peskov, Putin's spokesperson, claimed talks were unnecessary for now, citing settlement work as a reason. Yet, now Russia seems eager to negotiate. Could they be scheming to steer negotiations back to their original plans? Kallas fears that this week's negotiations could be a turning point. If concessions are made, Ukraine might be pressured into a bad deal. When Kiev refuses, Russia could escalate its hybrid warfare, cyber attacks, drone strikes, and covert operations against Europe's NATO members. The question remains, is this a genuine shift or a strategic bluff? Meanwhile, Russia's military actions continue unabated. Just days before the US and Russia meet, a brutal airstrike hit the Dnipro region. At least 4 civilians are dead, dozens wounded. The assault destroyed businesses and scattered debris across the area, an ominous sign of what's to come. The sounds of sirens blend with the distant rumble of explosions, filling the air with a sense of impending chaos. Russia's relentless violence hints at one terrifying reality: no one truly believes in peace anymore. Instead, they brace for conflict. The question that haunts officials is whether diplomacy can ever outpace the relentless wave of hybrid warfare. With each passing day, the threat of full-scale escalation grows more tangible. As snow falls over battered cities and the cold wind cuts deep, the world holds its breath. Does this week mark the final chapter of fragile peace? Or is it the beginning of something darker, a new war that no one dares fully admit? The future hangs in the balance, trembling between diplomacy and chaos. The tension is unbearable. Will diplomacy prevail, or will Russia's relentless push into Europe ignite a larger conflict? Only time will tell, but the stakes have never been higher, and the world watches in hushed silence. The situation is increasingly tense, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Russia's recent actions suggest they're not just fighting a traditional war anymore, they're waging an expansive hybrid assault across Europe. Every drone, cyber attack, and aerial incursion pushes the continent closer to the edge. The question remains, will NATO respond with the force needed, or is silence their only weapon? Despite Russia's heavy-handed tactics, targeting infrastructure, launching cyber operations, and sending aggressive aerial probes, NATO has historically relied on a reactive stance. The organization's foundational principle has always been defense, waiting to be attacked before striking back. But this approach may no longer suffice. As Russian drones breach NATO airspace, sometimes even deep into countries like Romania, many analysts warn that the alliance's patience is reaching a breaking point. Could this week be the turning point? Rumors swirl that NATO's military leaders are considering preemptive strikes, breaking from decades of cautious restraint. Admiral Giuseppe Carvo Dragone has openly suggested that the organization should shift gears, moving from reaction to anticipation. Could a full-scale offensive actually be on the horizon? The idea of attacking first sounds risky, but in the current climate, it might be the only way to counter the relentless hybrid warfare tactics. All eyes are on the upcoming diplomatic dialogues. Talks between the US and Russia could dramatically change the game, or set the stage for escalation. As Ukraine's future hangs in the balance, and countries brace against unseen threats, no one can afford to ignore the signals. Putin's war isn't limited to Ukraine, the shadows of hybrid conflict stretch deep into NATO's heartland. Meanwhile, recent missile strikes in the Dnipro region reveal that Russia's traditional warfare persists, deadly strikes with casualties and destruction. For lives lost, dozens wounded, property devastated, all acts that defy any notion of peace. Could this be a message? Or merely the continuation of a long, brutal campaign? The Russians appear to be sending a clear signal: they aren't stopping. And there's more. Behind the scenes, high-level meetings unfold. Putin scheduled to meet with key US officials, including influential advisors, to discuss a potential peace framework. Yet, skepticism remains. Will Russia genuinely seek peace, or is this just a tactical delay? The evidence suggests the latter. After all, Russia recently dismissed talks as unnecessary, only to escalate with new military provocations. The reality is stark. For months, Russia has waged an insidious hybrid war, cyber attacks, aerial violations, and covert sabotage, aimed at destabilizing NATO countries. These actions aren't mere threats, they are acts of war, carefully designed to weaken defenses and spread chaos. NATO's cautious responses may have given Russia the impression of impunity, emboldening further aggression. Experts warn that Russian drone operations over the Baltic are only stepping stones. Drones, fighter jets, and cyber weapons are all part of a calculated campaign. Recent incursions into Romanian airspace, with drones shot down just miles from Ukraine, show Moscow's daring. Its appetite for provocation is growing. These are warning shots, soundless yet deafening in their implications. The real question remains: how long can NATO afford to wait? Will they finally act decisively, or continue reacting to each new threat? The balance of power teeters dangerously on the edge. As the world watches, one thing is clear: what unfolds in the coming days could reshape Europe's security forever. The clock is ticking. Russia's hybrid tactics are evolving, unleashing chaos at a frightening scale. The alliance must decide, respond preemptively, risking escalation, or hope that diplomacy will hold. But the price of inaction may be far greater than any military miscalculation. NATO's future hangs in the balance. The next move could be history in the making, or the beginning of an even darker chapter. Are we prepared for what's coming? Or will silence be the loudest response of all? Imagine this: a shadowy drone hums through the night sky, its cold metal wings slicing the crisp Baltic air, engines whispering threats like a predator's breath. That's the chilling reality NATO faces, Russia's invisible invasions turning allies into targets. Shocking fact: over 100 unauthorized flights into NATO skies this year alone, each one probing weaknesses, humiliating defenses, and whispering, "We're already inside." How far will Putin push before the alliance snaps back? Building on Russia's hidden assaults that have plagued NATO for months, unseen battles eroding Europe's edges, picture the tension thickening. These aren't just pranks from afar. No. They weave in threats, sharp warnings echoing across borders. Aerial probes buzz like angry hornets, dipping into forbidden zones. Cyber strikes hit like lightning in the dark, frying networks with a digital sizzle that leaves screens flickering and hearts racing. Feel the urgency? These tactics scream war, just as fierce as armored columns thundering over plains. Tanks crush earth under treads, but drones and hacks shatter trust from within. So, Admiral Dragon's push for action, it isn't bold invention. It's reaction, pure and raw. Those so-called preemptive moves? They're defenses disguised, born from Russia's relentless jabs that demand a counterpunch. Who spots the truth first? Voices rise, cutting through the fog. Take the European Policy Center, EPC for short. On October 9, they dropped a bombshell report. Russian drones and jets? Not playful scouts. They're drills for chaos, rehearsals where Putin flexes muscles NATO's still stretching. The EPC warns these sky invasions signal offense, not bluff. Russia's posturing bold against Europe's guardians, while NATO lags, reactions slow as rusted gears grinding. Rhetorical punch: can you hear the jets scrambling, sirens wailing in the distance? Smell the jet fuel's acrid tang on the wind? Maria Martashuta, EPC policy sharp, lays it bare. Backdropped by endless violations, NATO stares down tough calls. Legal knots tangle, political fires burn, military drums beat louder. In NATO halls and EU chambers, debates swirl like storm clouds. Martashuta's words hit hard: without steady yet strong steps from NATO and the EU, those Baltic sky breaches could explode. Escalation looms, lives hanging by threads. As if echoing her alarm, Russia ramps up. More winged intruders pierce Romanian skies. Flashback: remember that tense November evening? Alarms blare in Romanian bases, pilots grip controls, leather seats creaking under hurried leaps. The Guardian chronicled it on November 25. NATO jets roar to life again, chasing two Russian drones that dared cross lines. One crashes down, wreckage smoldering 70 miles from Ukraine's edge. Deepest rage yet, debris twisted in the mud, a stark warning etched in scorched earth. Putin's gambit grows reckless, incursions bolder, skies no longer safe. But what if NATO's patience shatters next? Will a single spark ignite the full storm? In the last segment, Russian drones boldly breached Romanian skies, one crashed far from the border, marking Putin's deepest probe yet, his incursions growing ever bolder, leaving tensions hanging like a storm about to break. What if Putin's aerial games aren't just games, but a bloody rehearsal for full-blown war? The buzzing whine of engines slicing through chilled air, the sharp crack of jets scrambling, touching the icy controls as pilots brace for chaos. How much longer can NATO sit idle, watching this shadow warfare escalate? These hybrid threats ignited in early September, when Russia unleashed about 21 Gerberia drones into Polish airspace, their rotors humming like angry hornets invading a quiet nest, smelling of metal and exhaust fumes wafting over border lines. The heart of it, voices like Admiral Giuseppe Cavo Dragone and analyst Maria Martashuta warn. Russia's menace is alive and swelling, devouring Europe's peace. Can NATO keep reacting with mere jet scrambles, or will it wait for the first fatal scream, blood staining the ground, before acting? By then, too late, echoes of failure ringing out. What fatal mistake looms if NATO hesitates, letting Putin's web tighten? The Center for European Policy Analysis revealed on November 25 that it's time for the EU to prioritize Russia's poisons. These tactics, escalated though they aren't new. For a decade, Russia has jabbed at EU and NATO's fragile core, through cyber stings like electric jolts, disinformation fogging minds like toxic haze, economic claws gripping tight. Build a hybrid threat policy, they urge, deterring with discipline, striking first at vulnerabilities. Protect ballots from filthy interference, obliterate false narratives, and send a thunderous roar to Putin. If you taunt the beast, feel its goring retort. Damn. NATO shifts from reactive shadows to something fierce, humiliating Putin's chessboard tricks. But why now, when Ukraine's agony drags on? Putin's face betrays no interest in true accord, his aggressive grin mocking peace talks. So the war endures. Europe arms Ukraine deeper, fueling Russia's hybrid wrath, more incursions, more sabotage smells in the dark. Strike preemptive now, while it's still shadowy incursions, not lethal floods, before Putin claws the upper hand, gates slamming shut, leaving Europe in his gripping vice. Say goodbye to reactive days, and brace for a proactive thunderclap. Can NATO outmaneuver Putin's advancing tide, or drown in his humiliating web? The air thickens with dread, every siren's wail a reminder, the cliff looms, will Europe leap, or unravel? Imagine the winds of war whispering through the frost-laden fields of Eastern Europe, where shadows of hybrid threats lurk like predators in the night. Vladimir Putin, the master manipulator, has unleashed a storm of drone incursions, sabotage whispers, and cyber fangs across NATO lands, forcing the alliance to re-evaluate its wary stance. But now, a seismic shift looms, NATO insiders hint at proactive fury, turning defense into offense before Putin's blades strike true. On December 1, the Telegraph echoed Admiral Giuseppe Cavo Dragon's call for boldness, urging aggressive measures against Russia's shadowy legion of hackers, saboteurs, and drone hunters. Could this be the moment NATO awakens as a force that strikes first, deeming every Russian ploy an act of war warranting devastating preemptive blows? Continuing from where NATO contemplates turning the tide with hybrid counters, showing Putin that aggressive shadows can be banished by their own darkness. Striking while the irons cool prevents Russia from claiming dominance, escalating beyond mere threats. Yet, this isn't about unleashing full artillery into Russian hearts, it's about mirroring hybrid horrors to shatter Putin's illusion of impunity. Picture the Kremlin's echoes of fury, a bitter chill seeping through diplomatic halls. On December 1, Newsweek captured Russia's immediate backlash against Turganion's vow. Maria Zakharova, Russia's foreign ministry voice, lashed out, branding his words an utterly reckless gamble that fuels alliance aggression. Her words rang hollow amid the roar of missiles and drones battering Ukraine's soil. And just days after Russian drones pierced Romanian skies with intrusive hums, the irony stung sharply. Zakharova's disregard for such provocations reeked of stubborn denial, the Kremlin cloaked in layers of shared ignorance. Smell the acrid smoke of launched ordnance, feel the ground tremble under explosive impacts. Joining her chorus, Mikhail Sheremet, a Russian State Duma deputy clutching the usurped Crimean Peninsula, unleashed via the TASS news wire. He denounced Dragon's mindset as barbaric and dangerous, reckless boasts endangering their own peoples and world peace. Any NATO first strike, he warned, would backlash like a boomerang, sparking ruinous fallout. This echoes straight from Russia's deceptive script, finger-pointing at all but themselves, veiled threats to coerce foes into surrender. These very ploys fuel Dragon's plea for bold action, until Russia grasps that such deceptions no longer cloak their blade. Yet, here's the startling twist, Dragon's blueprint lacks clarity on NATO's retaliatory shadow dance. What form would this preemptive gambit take against Russia's web of deceit? Uncertainty grips the air, thick with tension. Could NATO deploy retaliatory cyber snares, mirroring the invisible thorns? Or launch vigilant drone swarms, turning the tables on airspace invaders? The fog shrouds details, but near certainty whispers that action brews, a storm building to expose Russia's house of cards and force reluctant peace talks. But will Putin blink first, or escalate his symphony of chaos? Whose gambit will shatter the fragile peace, plunging Europe into unforeseen depths? Will Russia's iron fist tremble as NATO's resolve turns mirrors into weapons, humbling the aggressors in their own game? However, the one thing missing from Dragon's comments so far is a clear picture of what a preemptive NATO strike on Russia might actually entail. Nobody knows for certain what this proactive shift means. Yet, it's nearly certain that Dragon isn't suggesting NATO unleash full-scale invasions or ignite total war. It's more about countering Russia's sly hybrid threats with moves of their own. This signals a broader strategy to prove NATO won't sit idle until threats balloon out of control. A hint comes from more of Dragon's words in The Independent. He focuses on Russia's cyber assaults. He says, on cyber, we're kind of reactive. Being more aggressive, or being proactive instead of reactive is something that we're thinking about. What chills could this send through the Kremlin? The faint hum of servers grinding under unseen attacks, the cold sweat of hackers in dark rooms fearing the tables turning, ever aware of the digital whispers closing in. Imagine, for a heartbeat, the humiliation, Putin, ever the predator, suddenly hunted in his own shadowy domain. Wouldn't that be a twist fate itself penned? Days before Dragon spoke, Politico stirred the pot with Europe thinks the unthinkable on retaliating against Russia. This means the push for stronger NATO actions isn't just one voice, it's a chorus growing louder. Politico reveals Europe brewing retaliatory schemes, like shared offensive cyber ops against Russia. Think icy winds howling over data lines severed, the acrid stench of overheated machines in forgotten bunkers. Italy's defense minister Guido Crosetto penned a 125-page blueprint urging a European center to fight hybrid wars. It would boast a cyber force of 1,500 warriors, fused with AI-savvy soldiers. Politico adds that NATO allies, including the Czech Republic, the air thickens with anticipation, doesn't it? As the screen pauses, you might wonder, if these cyber shadows strike first, could Putin's empire truly crumble without a single gunshot fired? The unexpected betrayal of his own tactics gnawing at him like a wolf in the night. What secrets will the next salvo unveil? Imagine a world where shadows lurk unseen, where the hum of enemy drones cuts through the night like a predator's growl. Could NATO finally unleash its fury first, turning the tables on Putin's relentless shadow war? 234 characters, NATO has long played defense, but under Vladimir Putin's hybrid assaults, from buzzing drones violating airspace to sabotaged networks, they're rethinking every rule. The air smells of engine oil and damp earth as pilots scramble jets, their hands gripping controls in the tense grip of uncertainty. What if this reactive stance crumbles, sparking a preemptive storm? Diving back, recall the chill of December 1st, when frost clings to runway tarmac, jet exhaust a smoky haze, and Admiral Giuseppe Carvo Dragon warned, NATO might strike first, deeming Russia's drone incursions and cyber ploys as brazen aggression. Like a forgotten ember reigniting fire, his words echo the shift. Is proactive offense the only shield left? Now, whispers of a European center for countering hybrid threats swirl, a fortress of 1,500 cyber warriors and AI tacticians. Sensory overload hits, keyboard clicks echo in dimly lit rooms, the faint ozone tang of server farms, fingers tracing virtual battle lines. Could this ballet of code and cunning humiliate Russia's saboteurs, exposing their vulnerabilities in a digital exposé? Or does it hide a twist, where cyber ghosts turn defenses into offensives? Summoning ghosts from colder truths. Picture November's Romanian skies, where Russian drones pierced the border like icy thorns, thunderous jet scrambles shattering the dawn silence. A downed intruder 70 miles deep, a visceral wound. The European Policy Center's analyst, Maria Martashuta, shivered under airspace rehearsals, rallying for forceful reprisals. Will NATO's composed fury erupt, unleashing retaliatory lightning before Russia escalates? Yet, here lies the whisper of change, building on threats that NATO labels as war's preamble. Denmark and the Czech Republic already wield offensive cyberblades, targeting Russia's economic veins and drone factories. A rhetorical hammer drops. Are they poised to shatter Putin's production wheels, his Shahid drones buzzing to oblivion? Or could this preemptive dance hide turmoil, where one misstep ignites full-scale roar? Flashback to September's Kyiv reports, industrial grime coating hands, assembly line clangs pounding out up to 2,700 Shahid drones monthly, mostly swarming Ukraine, but NATO airspace teeters. The acrid scent of fuel from launch sites, the tactile jolt of countermeasures. Would hindering this swarm humiliate Putin's machine, revealing his overextension in stark, undeniable defeat? This evolution whispers louder, per Dragon's veiled hints, urging preventative actions over strikes, cyber forces versus Russia's drone nightmares. The economic buzz of targeted zones fades, replaced by silent virtual conquests. But what unexpected twist lurks? If NATO mirrors Russia's hybrid vehemence, does it merely echo chaos, or craft a symphony of strategic humiliation? In the tapestry of this shadow clash, NATO's pivot feels inevitable, fueled by Putin's audacious hybrid onslaught. From drone rehearsals to sabotage echoes, each incursion builds momentum. Could this marked shift unleash unprecedented offense, mocking Russia's aggressions with clever, unseen blows? Building on these escalating tensions, imagine a cyber entity that punishes without a single bullet's whistle. Politico predicts it, nations like the Czech Republic aligning, their digital arsenals humming in anticipation. The faint whine of servers, the sensory rush of algorithmic victories. Does this herald the end of reactive woe, transforming NATO into a relentless vanguard? Yet, Dragon tempers the fire, noting caveats in this aggressive whirl. The Independent captures it, being more aggressive compared with the aggressor. A rhetorical chill, is NATO's boldness a mirror of desperation, or the seed of unstoppable counterplay? Each hybrid jab from Putin justifies shards of revenge, yet one false note could shatter alliances. Can they swing from defense to full-throated offense before the hybrid beasts multiply? This narrative arcs through fear to fierce resolve, Putin's moves backfiring as NATO crafts countermeasures. The smell of ratification lingers, keyboards clacking new doctrines. Sensory details etch the path, gravel crunch under boots during alerts, the metallic bite of cold air during scrambles. But twist, their preemptive whispers might unearth weaknesses, peeling back Russia's facade in a global spectacle. In the crescendo, Denmark and the Czech Republic stand as beacons, authorizing cyber offensives against Russia's lifelines. Targeting drone production with digital phantoms. Each action a spark, each incursion a reminder. Could this coordinated strike starve Putin's swarm, their humiliation broadcast in the winds of retaliation? From Kiev's September revelations, Russia's monthly 2,700 Shahed output stains the air, drones' rotors a droning pall. The grit of factory floors, engine warmth on skin. NATO's budding hub aims to nip this at the source, shattering launch pads with invisible force. What provocative irony! Using Russia's own shadow tactics to dismantle his empire. Dragon's emphasis on preventative actions, avoiding direct blasts, favoring coded chaos, casts a thrilling cloak. Economic Times dissect it, preemptive havoc on drone sites, without jet screams. The electronic quiet of success, the rush of unraveled plots. His words ignite debates on NATO's reactive core, questioning if offense hides the key to survival. Amidst this whirl, Politico speculates on cavalry, European cyber forces swarming Russian vulnerabilities. Nations rushing, AI whispers potential. But Dragon hedges, acknowledging the aggressor's rivalry. His caveats stir questions: can NATO outsmart without mimicking brutality? Each step a cliff, Russia growls louder, alliances tremble. Putin's relentless reign parades unchanged, escalating despite talks, drone raids mocking ceasefires. But NATO's embryonic center, with its cyber legion, teases reversal. Sensory flickers, code silent surge, alliances palpable tension. Will this preemptive shadow war humiliate Russia's gambit, exposing cracks? In the fog of hybrid fear, Russia's drones invade Romanian skies, deepest yet, jets roaring response. The EPC warns, unless composed force prevails, fatalities loom. Martashuda's voice echoes urgency. Is NATO's slow reaction fueling yet another loop of escalation, or does it prime unparalleled vengeance? The whisper of uncertainty hangs heavy in the air, like the metallic tang of unspent explosives lurking in the shadows. We've uncovered how Russia's drone production surge could force NATO's hand, pushing the alliance to strike preemptively at those very factories before more Shahed missiles soar into NATO skies. But is this shift real, or just smoke and mirrors? Speculation swirls like fog over a battlefield, but Dragon's words ignite a firestorm of debate. Questions echo in the minds of policymakers: could aggression backfiring on Russia truly reshape NATO's playbook? The Independent captures Dragon's cautionary tone, as he ponders if escalating to match our adversary's ferocity is viable. His emphasis lingers: legal webs, jurisdictional mazes, the who of action, painting a portrait of bureaucratic thorns that ensnare proactive dreams. Cynic might nod at this age-old NATO affliction, where red tape coils like barbed wire, constricting swift responses. Russia banks on it, whispering that delay is their ally, their shield against reprisals. NATO stands at a crossroads, grappling to legitimize leaps beyond reaction, while rallying members bold enough to court Moscow's wrath through such bold moves. Yet, the sting of reality bites. Many allies already suffer Putin's hybrid probes, their borders breached, their skies violated. So, the riddle pivots, not who dares retaliate, but when. When will targeted nations roar enough, unleashing Russia's own venom back upon itself? Tense moments tick like a bomb's fuse, NATO teetering on policy's edge. Russia's assaults escalate, weaving into a grander tapestry leading to full-blown war mirrors the Ukrainian inferno. Phase 0 warns of looming doom, hinting that a conventional clash with NATO looms imminent, its siren call building. A shocking twist awaits. What if this aggression isn't just defense, but the spark to ignite a global cascade, where one preemptive shot unravels the fragile peace? Pussy. Tensions simmer, alliances fracture under unseen pressures, and as the air thickens with the gruff growl of jet engines and the acrid scent of impending conflict, one wonders, will NATO's evolution come too late, or will it shatter Russia's grip in a blaze of calculated defiance? The echo of that question reverberates, leaving a cliffhanger of icy anticipation. In a world on the brink of chaos, one question echoes louder than all: is it time to strike first? For months, Vladimir Putin has manipulated the rules of engagement. He's launched relentless hybrid assaults, drones, cyber sabotage, covert operations, aimed directly at NATO allies. His strategy? Keep NATO guessing, confident they won't act until tanks roll in. But what if this game of patience is a trap? Now, the balance shifts. NATO begins to realize that the old playbook, react only after attack, no longer holds. The organization is contemplating a daring move, a preemptive strike. Generals and leaders whisper about aggressive action, claiming it's justified, even necessary. Could this be NATO's boldest decision yet, fighting fire with fire? On December 1st, a high-ranking NATO officer, Admiral Giuseppe Carvo Dragone, boldly spoke of the need for change. He said, "It's time to be proactive. To act before being acted upon." His words send shockwaves through the security community. A preemptive attack, considered unthinkable for decades, might now be a possible line of defense. He suggests that recent Russian actions, from hacking to drone invasions, cross the line from mere threats into outright aggression. Imagine the tense atmosphere as top officials debate this shift, every decision fraught with risk. NATO's traditional stance has been clear: attack only in response. Yet, with Russia's steady escalation, that path no longer seems enough. The question looms: is revolutionary change needed? Can NATO embrace a new strategy, one where offense becomes defense? The pressures are mounting. Russia's hybrid warfare is coming faster and bolder. A recent surge of aerial violations, Russian fighter jets buzzing NATO borders, brings the war dangerously close to home. The sound of engines echoing above quiet skies, the smell of impending conflict thickening the air. Could these acts be rehearsals for something greater? And as these questions swirl, a pivotal week unfolds, talks between global powers, peace negotiations hanging by a thread. Yet, behind closed doors, the military brain trust prepares for the worst. The time to act may be now. NATO's future hangs in the balance. Will they continue to wait, or finally take a decisive step forward? Because if history has taught us anything, silence and hesitation only embolden the aggressor. Putin's strategy: destabilize from within, strike from the shadows. NATO's challenge: must it now transform from reactive to preemptive? A choice that could reshape the fate of nations itself. Vladimir Putin has been playing a dangerous game. For months, he has launched covert attacks, drones crossing borders, spy missions disrupting stability, cyber sabotage targeting NATO allies. The goal? To keep NATO on its heels, waiting for a full-scale invasion before reacting. But what if this strategy is backfiring? What if Putin pushes too far and finally triggers a response he can't control? Imagine the tension crescendoing, sensing that every move Putin makes is a new threat. The air thickens with anticipation. NATO, historically reactive, now faces a critical dilemma. The military alliance begins to consider a shocking option, striking first. Could a preemptive move be on the horizon? An assault not as an act of aggression, but as a necessary shield against relentless hybrid warfare tactics. On December 1st, whispers of this shift surfaced. Admiral Giuseppe Carvo Dragone, NATO's top military strategist, openly discussed the possibility of becoming more aggressive. Proactive measures, he said cautiously, might be necessary now. His words echo a paradigm shift, stunning NATO's traditional stance. A preemptive strike driven by the need for self-defense amid escalating threats from hackers, drone swarms, and sabotage teams. But why push the envelope now? NATO's foundation has always been about responding to threats, not creating them. Its core principle, attack only when attacked, served as a safeguard. Yet, recent months have shattered that doctrine. The relentless drone patrols over Baltic skies. The cyber disruptions cloaking the continent in chaos, these acts of hybrid warfare are no longer fringe tactics, they're war by other means. Could NATO really abandon its reactive roots? Critics wonder, is this bold new approach justified? Or is it a dangerous gamble, risking open conflict? As the alliance's command considers striking preemptively, one thing is clear, Putin's hybrid campaign appears to be the opening move of a larger, more sinister chess game. NATO's response may now be coming, and it might alter the entire balance of power. With each passing day, the threat intensifies. Russian fighters roared past Romanian skies, one downed drone, one more border crossed. Tensions spike. The sounds of jets scrambling, radar pings piercing the silence, these are the signs. Putin's tactics grow bolder, more provocative. And NATO? It must decide whether to remain reactive or boldly defend itself at the front line. The question isn't just about strategy. It's about survival, and the world watches, holding its breath.